Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. This episode, we are once again taking a look at the shores of Tripoli from Fort Circle Games. This time, though, unlike last time, boom, 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 womp, womp, womp. Womp, womp, womp. Boom, 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 boom. We're looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly of this game. Alright, let's just get down to it. The good, plays quick, moves fast. There's only 3 choices each player has on each turn. Event card, and he discards to do different things depending on which side you are, either gunboats and move frigates if you're the US, or build Corsairs and do a pirate raid if you're the Pirates of Tripoli. That's it. So it plays pretty quick, moves fast. Even the other day when I was teaching it to my wife, it only took us 90 minutes to play, and that included teaching time. Very quick moving game, very easy, which actually kind of goes to my second point. It's very easy to learn and to teach. It didn't take me long to pick it up. Did everything up pretty much by reading the rule book. Only had a question or two, which I'll get to here in a little bit. My wife, who doesn't like to learn games, she's always a little reluctant, drags her feet on it, even though a lot of the times afterwards she's like, this is pretty good. She had no trouble picking this up. She enjoyed it. She said she would play it again, so that's a ringing endorsement from a non-war gamer. It didn't take us any time at all. So again, this is very easy to learn. It's very easy to teach. Another thing I like about this game is the cards. The cards are clear. There's not a whole lot of ambiguity here on how they work. When do you play them? It's pretty all straightforward as far as that's concerned. I really didn't have any questions about any of the cards, exactly what they mean, or well, wait a minute, what about can I read it this way? Didn't run into any of that with the cards. Another thing that's clear about this game is from playing it this 6 or 7 time. There is a lot of effort to went into play testing. Now, how much effort? Well, let me show you. This is the designer notes booklet, and the playtest list starts here. Is this entire column here, this whole column here, and even comes into this over here. I mean, I've never seen a game with this many playtesters before. That's like BSc level of playtesting, which is good. Because a lot of times, nowadays, one of the first things that people criticize about some new games is, it's underdeveloped. It didn't have a thorough enough development or playtesting and stuff. But I don't think Shores of Tripoli has that problem at all. It does feel like, and when you play it and the whole experience, it does feel like it has been thoroughly vetted. It has been thoroughly playtested. So, another big thing there. I also like the fact that both sides have multiple paths to victories. The pirates can sink those 4 frigates. They can get the gold. They can also destroy Hammett's army, which I left out from my last video. The U.S. has the treaty card, or basically conquer everything. That's their 2 major things. But more than one path to victory, I think, helps with replayability, but I also think it helps with accessibility too. I will say, when thinking about those paths to victory, by the way, to kind of go back to the last point, when you're teaching the game to somebody, I would definitely let them play the Tripoli force, because it's a little easier and there's less moving parts to achieving the goals of the pirates as opposed to the goals of the U.S., at least in my opinion. So, something to consider there. The components are top-notch. Nice mounted map board. The cards are nice with art. The wooden pieces are excellent. Even the box is nice and sturdy. I mean, yeah, it's just even the illustrations and the way it looks and everything. It's just top-notch components. There's nothing I've had to complain about here as far as the components go in the game. Each game has a little different flow and feel to it, depending on how the cards come out. Now, of course, you can say that's true of any card-driven game, but because of the multiple paths to victory as well, I have felt with all the games I've played, and I've played some two-handed solo, some with the solo bot, one with my wife, I feel like each one has had a different, unique flow and feel to it, which is good because I think that helps with replayability. The rulebook. Rulebook overall is pretty clear. A few minor hiccups aside, which I'll articulate here and talk about in a few moments. But again, it has the feel of, again, kind of go back to the playtester thing, it has the feel of a game that has been put through the ringer, so to speak, that has been very thoroughly handled. So the rulebook overall is not a very long rulebook either, because this is clearly a lighter war game, as I'm sure you probably figured out from the last video. The rulebook overall is very clear, very concise. In my opinion, is well done. Another thing is just kind of a personal thing, but excuse me, again, it's a good thing, in my opinion, is the dice. If you're a lover of dice like I am, this game comes with 24 dice. That's right, 24 dice. Yellow, red, and blue. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that never likes to roll the same die twice. I never, ever, ever do that. I mean, even just from this last playthrough I was doing for you guys, I mean, there's part of the pile of dice I use for whatever side that I'm active with, because blue and green clearly are my favorite colors, though there's a few other unique ones thrown in there for colors and stuff for dice. But I'm a guy that likes dice, so, I mean, if I were to count all the dice I own, I wouldn't be afraid to guess that there might be close to 1,000, a little more than 1,000 dice that I have. So this game comes with lots of dice, so if you're like me and you like lots of dice, that will definitely appeal to you. The solo system, the solo bot, I think is well done. Once you get the hang of the flow and how to go through reading the cards, you know, making sure that you think about, I got to make sure on the battle cards to make sure the timing is right to maximize their ability and stuff. Once you get all that nailed down, I think the bot flows well. And the other thing I like about the way the bot handles things is that it keeps the focus on the goals. Because, of course, with the 5 Corsair raid, what's the word I want? The requirement, it keeps the focus on trying to get the gold, which is probably the quickest way for the pirates to win, quite frankly. But it also, by being able to raid and being able to do other things, it also gives that opportunity to get at frigates, because, of course, you're going to be building things, and depending on what the event cards are and such, it just comes with a nice flow. Now, granted, there are those modifications that I mentioned in the last video, but that kind of just helps in terms of balancing things, because there's no active choices being made by the other side. So, but I do think that the solo bot is effective, but it's a very straightforward, simple kind of thing without a billion flowcharts and stuff. But I think it works very well for the game. And the other thing I can say about this on the good part is that this game has earned my coveted 3F rating. It's fast, it's fun, and it's furious, because it does play quick. It is a lot of fun, and it is furious. You kind of have to keep on your toes trying to figure out what to do. Make sure you maximize your event cards, your battle cards, and your one-time use cards and stuff. Your core cards that you start with. There's a lot of things going on to keep the tension up without a whole lot of downtime either, because again, you can only do 3 things on each turn, so it moves pretty quick, as you saw if you watched the last video that I did with the playthrough. From a bad perspective, I only have a couple things to say. One is the card order, but not the solo version, but playing a 2-player. But I mean, that is a weakness of any CDG, because depending on what cards you have in your hand at any given moment, what you start with, etc. But here also there is kind of, there can be a kind of avalanche effect. Like if the U.S. starts with its first 6 cards, if it starts with, Congress allowing those early builds of ships and then your early deployment, you start with things like that right off the bat. And then if you have, although I haven't had this happen yet, but if you have the one concerning the Corsairs to start in Gibraltar, you can really get a significant edge pretty quick by the end of the first year. But again, it has to fall into place, and you have to be able to handle it correctly. But at the same time, I mean, it can happen. It can be annoying. Games can be over pretty quick. I had one time where the pirates thing fell, where all the allies came out very quickly, and then I used the use of card to just you know, launched massive raid and just the gold was flowing in, and the next thing you know, it was over. So again, there are some card combos that I wouldn't go so far as to call them Halifax hammers, but there's definitely some card combos that can, you know, put a hurting on the other side, without a doubt. So the other thing is that there are a few key rules that I think maybe for the next edition of the rulebook should be put in bold type. They did a nice job with most of it this time, but one rule that tripped me up, and I did have to ask about it, and somebody pointed out where it was the rule about after U.S. ships attack pirate ships in the harbor, you know, they all go back to Malta, which, you know, I missed that because it wasn't in bold. I think that's something that's significant, you know, so that you know, like the difference between doing that and if you're keeping ships on patrol and all in the patrol zone. So that's kind of an example of some of those little things that, you know, could be tweaked and improved for a second edition. The only ugly thing I will say is land battles. Now, I'm sure you noticed from the video that naval battles, you know, basically it's one and done. You have one round and it's finished. Whether you're trying to intercept the pirates as they're coming out, excuse me, or if you're trying to attack them in their harbors, or if they come out to attack you with that one particular card. Naval battles are pretty quick, but land battles are a fight to the finish. So especially with the solo version, you know, you start with extra armies in Benghazi and Tripoli, and then if you get the event cards that allows you to put more units there, you could have a huge land battle, and since each side only hits on a 6, you could keep rolling and 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 rolling. I mean, it could take quite a while. I actually did have one game where a land battle, because there was so many blocks on each side and nobody was hitting a 6, which, you know, maybe that was just bad die rolling on my part, but it went on for almost 5 minutes, which that was like epic. But my point being that can be a little bit annoying, that, you know, it is a fight to the finish that can go on for a while, because, you know, 6 is the only number that hits, and we only have one number that hits on a 6-sided die, which is basically a 17% chance that it's going to come up. You know, and it can take a while, especially when you start to whittle down both sides. You know, if you end up with a battle, in some ways it could be even worse when you have a battle of like 3-on-2, because you're rolling less dice, so the chances of having a 6, you know, is diminished, and yeah. So that's the one thing I would say of anything here that's kind of the ugly part of it, would be those extended land battles, particularly ones that are large and have quite a few blocks on each side. However, overall, as you can tell from the number of items I articulated under each category, this clearly, in my opinion, is a good light war game. You know, I would put this in the same category as like History of the World or Spheres of Influence, things like that. It's a little more complicated, say, than Spheres of Influence, although I think Spheres of Influence is a very clever light war game, but maybe not as involved as History of the World. But still, it kind of falls into that, you know, Memoir 44 kind of area and category, to me anyway. But that's good. It's good to have light war games that you can use. I mean, I can see this easily being a good filler game for me when I'm trying to decide, you know, between two games, and sometimes I have trouble with that. You know, my indecision is decisive, so to speak, when I'm trying to pick a new game at times. So from that perspective, having a filler like this where I'm like, okay, you know what, let me just play this because I know I can play this, knock this out in the evening. Excuse me again. Wow, have a little more time to think about which game I'm really leaning towards, and you know, have that little more time for reflection while still enjoying a game. That's how I would categorize this. So clearly, as I'm sure you can figure out, I would definitely give this game a thumbs up. This is a game that will definitely stay in my collection, not only because it'll be a good filler game, but it's something that, again, you can engage with a non-war gamer. You know, my wife said she's more than happy to play it again, which is always good. We both like playing games, but I'm obviously a very heavy war gamer, whereas, you know, she likes to play like Nations the Dice game, and although she'll play Twilight Struggle and things of that nature. So, so in that sense, it's it's good, and it's also a topic that you don't see covered very often either. Matter of fact, I don't know of another game. I'm sure there's probably one out there somewhere, but I'm unaware of it that covers, you know, the whole Barbary pirates as at least that's what they were called when I studied them in school way too many years ago to think about. Sure, man, it was like ninth grade, I think. I had American History 1. Come to think of it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was ninth grade. So, but at any rate, this definitely is a good light war game that's a lot of fun to play. Engaging, interesting. So, again, if you like the topic, if you're looking for a good filler game, if you're looking for a good light game to play with your non-wargaming friends, pick this up. So, next episode, I'm not sure where I'm going to be next because I got quite a few games for Christmas. I've got a lot of things I've been toying around with here. I've been toying around with Black Swan, which mechanics have been interesting, but I don't like how scripted it is, so I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that next. I probably will do a playthrough video at some point, but I'm kind of gritting my teeth that it's not quite as much of a sandbox game, which is unfortunate because I really do like the mechanics. But I also have Centrifugal Offensive from World at War 75. I also have... I pulled out my old copy of 3rd edition Successors because I've been reading Adrian Goldsworthy's Philip and Alexander, which just came out last year. And it's been a very good read, by the way, too, if you're interested in ancient history. I also got Poland Defiant and Fury at Midway for Christmas and Banana Wars. So as you can see, I'm kind of all over the place. I also got the old SPI, Napoleon Invasion of Russia. I forget what the name of that one is precisely, but all those are on the table. They are legitimate contenders. You know, I could have been a contender for the next video. So, but yeah, I've enjoyed this game. I'm not sure where I'm going next. We'll have to wait and see. So, as always, this is Tim Korchnoi from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying thanks for watching. And again, I'll see you next time, but I have no idea whether it will be from the remains of Alexander's Empire to Grand Strategic World War II Eastern Theater. I have no idea where I'm going to go next with my next video. We'll just have to wait and see. See what strikes my fancy and what I have time for, maybe is a better way of putting it. As my little men get bigger, I have less and less time. So, again, thanks for watching. See you next episode.